Hey guys, it's Ellen and welcome to my channel. Hey, we're working on some abstract coastal landscapes today. I go over this step by step. I have a reference photo for you guys to use, but pretty much the photo, it's just an indication to show you where to place things. But we're gonna have fun just drawing, splattering, painting, scraping, all that good stuff to create this really simple and fun and easy abstract landscape. Coastal painting. It's because it's got land and it's got ocean. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit that bell notification button, please do so you know when my tutorials are up. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, and a live stream on the top tier once a month for me, as well as a download. Yeah, it's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. You can check it up. Excuse me, you can check it out right here in a second. And yeah, without further ado, let's get painting. Okay, so let's start by going over some supplies and things that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. I have a piece of arched 100% cotton cold pressed paper that's taped down with magic Scotch tape. Oh, just a thick piece of cardboard so I can like manipulate it and move it around easily. You can put it on a board, it might be easier for you. I also have my paints in this enamel tin. I got this, I think at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, one of these places. You can get them at anywhere, at craft stores, at art supply stores. What's great about that is that you can mix all kinds of paint in here and you can use it in scrape color or whatever. It's just a bigger surface than those little, instead of the little wells that you see from the other one that I have. I'll be using the credit card. That's an old credit card. I might use some salt. I might use my acrylic ink. We'll play around with that. My paints are always in here. Today I'm playing around with just a few colors. Ultramarine blue, neutral tint, burnt umber, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow deep, and cadmium red light. Then I have gouache over here. I'll be using my 1-inch craft brush. I'll be playing around with some Princeton 10 Neptune series. Excuse me, I might use my 8 long round, but all the description after, what I use will be in the description box. Naturally, I have paper towels, or I'm actually going to start using more of a towel instead of paper towels, and I have water jars up here. You can't see, it's kind of hard to fit everything in. Then I give you a reference photo that I found on Pixabay. I just like the just perspective of the rocks, and then I'm not necessarily going to paint the green area green like this. I'm just looking at it for like the rocks and the colors. And then this is gray and this is blue. That's why ultramarine is like kind of a nice color for this, but I don't know, I might actually want to keep it all neutral. You don't have to follow this exactly. I keep trying to tell everybody that if you want to have like more of a stylized kind of thing, and it's inspired by a place, right? I don't even know where this is from actually. So I don't have a sketch for anybody on Patreon or anybody. I just want you guys to look at the picture and use it to like get an idea. And you can use your brush. I can just sketch out where I'm going to start the picture. So here my horizon line where the ocean kind of ends. And I can have some landmass here and sketch some of those little rocks that kind of come out here. As you see me doing that. And there's like little mounds of rocks here. I'm using a pencil, just a number 2 pencil. I do want to use the pencil though in this particular design, so I'm just going to scroll in here. And so I'm just going to draw in some loose, like the rocks, it's kind of part of the design is to keep the pencil marks this time. Half the time I'm always erasing them, but now I'm going to do something that's kind of abstract, but using drawing as part of it. And you could use ink too, and see how I'm just kind of like making these like loose kind of fun rocks. And then more like a pattern than necessarily being perfect. I'm just kind of just drawing in some of the shapes. Kind of like that. Some of the bigger rocks here. You can draw some little ones. More of a stylized kind of design. You see that? And I will keep that pencil mark this time in my design because I kind of want to have this special kind of look to it where I keep in the pencil marks. Back here. Again. This is, like I said, a number 2 pencil. There's the grass, and there's the mound, and more rocks here. And I might use it like just to make the little scrape marks coming down this way. You see? It's more stylized. I could do little patterns. I don't have to keep it exactly how the photograph is. It's just giving me like a feel of how I want it to do. Put some little ones here. Draw some little ones here too. Like you see little teeny rocks in the photograph. So I like the photograph because of the colors. I really like these grays and brown hues, neutral type hues. I'm not really fond of the green in this particular instance, you know. And this is the other part of the landmass. I might keep some of this stuff that the way it's supposed to look. But I'm really going to concentrate mostly on the rocks. So I've drawn some of it in, as you can see. This take me like 3 minutes to draw this. I'm just drawing like these little rock shapes. Really simple, kind of stylized. Just make some scrapey marks here. See? That. Just moving the pencil around. Ta-da! Now let's get to it. So now I'm going to use my craft brush. Right? I'm going to start mixing some neutral colors. I already have them here. I got water right here in this pan. Got the yellow ochre. It's a beautiful color. Got that neutral tint. Excuse me, burnt umber. And here's a neutral tint. I'll put some more of that neutral tint back here. Now I mixed the burnt umber with it, so the neutral tint itself is more of a purple bluish gray. When you mix the burnt umber, you get that brown gray. And if you want more of the blue color, here's the ultramarine. Now I've got them all kind of mixed in together. See that? It's just one big happy family. But I still have the actual paint right here too, so I can play around with the color and whatnot. So I could put the sky in first, wet on dry. I could just start going around and just fooling around, putting in some of this blue in here. I'm just going to go along like this method right here, just kind of wiggling the brush, watering this down a little bit brighter. I don't know, keep a little blue here. I'm going to clean it off with some water, keep a little water on there, and then just push that paint around again. Just like that. I don't want to fuss too much with the sky. I'm not really caring about the sky too much. I want all the energy to go into the rocks. So just gonna put some blue in here and up in here. There's some blue gray up here and over in here. And more blue gray up in here. Make it more of a bluish gray day. Right up there. Yeah. Just simple. See, I just use that flat wash brush and just going across. I feel like I could add more brown to the sky. So I grab that brown from over there. I'm just going to add a little more of that brown inside here. More brown. I really want more of a neutral looking sky than a blue sky. Hopefully you get that from what I just did. Okay, now I've got all these colors kind of melded, and you can see some of the rust. I'll throw that little red in just in little places, not everywhere. I don't want to make it too obvious. So here I got that neutral tint mixed with all those colors, and I'll start playing with it here. I'm just going to start putting this gray. I'm haphazardly kind of just twisting the color in here with the brush. We can add some deeper tones in a bit and some more yellow tones, some of those rocks. It's kind of fun to play with the flat wash brush because it's going to force you to get out of your comfort zone. Now see, there's some darker rocks up in here. You can play around with just taking the neutral tint in the front umber, just kind of filling in those. Now it just looks like a bunch of dots, right? I'm going to grab some more water and move the brown. I'm going to lift it up and have it bleed now. At the same time, I'm going to go back and grab some of that neutral tint. See, a little bit darker there. And making it a little bit darker out here. Again, just using this brush, holding it inside. And twisting. See how I twist that brush? Grab some of that yellow. I'm just going to stop where there's no water. So that's just perfect. If you want to kind of maneuver it, you can kind of push the paint like this. Have it come down a little bit. I'm just going to bleed. And you get like right there, it's just kind of like really kind of cool and abstract, just bleeding down like that, right? I'll go back over in here. Again, I'm just twisting my brush, see? Adding some color, and I'm going to grab some more water again. Just going to go over this section. Going to tap my brush. Now I'm going to grab more of the actual paint, tube paint. Getting really dark over here. See that? Almost black. Up under here. See how I did this movement? Going across. So I'm inspired, but I'm actually not painting. I'm kind of like, let my painting take over. And this is what you call intuitive painting. So it's inspired by this photograph, but as you can see, now I've decided I'm having the brush tell me where to go. And I've grabbed some of the yellow ochre now, and I'll kind of bring that up here. Up, up, up. Mix that up, that neutral tint. Right, just grabbing the yellow ochre. Boop, boop, boop. And the top. Look at that. So now it's taking on a whole new life. And here's another landmass over here. Grab that neutral tint, and then boom. Already, it looks a lot different than this picture, but you get this abstract quality to it. It's because you were inspired by the rocks. Now, when this all dries, I can go back in and actually can paint some real rocks if you want to do that. You could even go in and take that, just the corner. I don't even know if I'm going to use my Princeton brush, but this is the corner of this brush. Just going to grab some of this red. Just kind of play around with, just putting it around. I like that color. See how I'm just mixing it all in here? Again, I'm going to grab that neutral tint. I see some darker color areas over here. Making like dry brush. It still kind of has that feeling. Looks more like a sunny day, right? Than a cloudy day. Go back in here. I'm going to water. Clean up my brush. Gonna kind of put some water all in this mixture now. And just go in here and add some of that. I'll go back to my blue that's mixed with the browns up here. I'll play around with adding that into the water. It's a little too deep. I'm going to get a little bit lighter. I add some more water. I'm holding it sideways. Let's see what we got here. Filling this in. Right, you see the blue gray. Can add some brown to this. A little bit of yellow. Get that blue back in there. Now, it's completely changed from the photograph, but I was inspired. You see, the shapes where they're placed. So you don't have to follow it if you want to follow it exactly. But this is inspired by this is how you take a photograph of something and then you can use it. I'm going to go back in now and grab some neutral tint and kind of just twist and turn. It's all these rocks. I still can see the pencil line, so I can go back in and fill in some areas. Grab that yellow, cadmium yellow deep. Open up my brush. I want more of a tense yellow. There's no real yellow in this picture, but I'm just putting it in. I'm lightly going like this. You see that? So it just kind of hits some of the areas with the paper, dry brush. This is how I like to play. And you know, as you can tell, I'm really getting into the abstract. I mean, I've always loved abstracts. And I've always been baffled. Some people are fantastic at them. I'm just learning like everybody else. And this is the way I go about things. Yeah, see, I'm liking that. Now, I feel like there's just too dark here and there's no dark and reprieve over here. So I'm going to add some of that neutral tint here and in here. And then get some brown. And again, back up in here. As you can see, it was green and brown, really dark. You could do some trees. I didn't really put the trees in, but I could just tap the side of my brush and you can kind of make some trees that way. It looks like trees. Kinda. You get the yellow and the blue. I'm gonna make some green that way. You can put some green in there. Indicate green. I'm still using this brush. Grabbing the paint neutral tint. Just kind of twisting it. Kind of fill in some little rock areas. And then watering down some of the blue and the brown. Getting in some, filling in some color on these rocks here. Clean up my brush. Gonna go back in, add some more color. Water that down. Now I'm gonna lift it up again. Gonna add some water. Kind of want to just play with this whole splattering thing here. You know, give it really some energy. I feel like it needs some more energy. Right? Splatter it. Just trying to get this red a little bit wet. Splatter. There we go. Giving it energy. Right? Kind of wild. Grab that yellow. And then some of that burnt umber again and neutral tint. Back over here again. I'll grab my water and I'll kind of push that water like that. At this point, you could take the credit card and you can kind of scrape around. Oops. Twisty scrape to get like one of those, if it's still damp, and you can kind of create rocks like that too. Just another thing to do, play around with. You can scrape in some lines, again, more energy. I don't know if I necessarily see my pencil marks so much anymore. It's just fun to scrape. Right? Lots of energy with that. Little scrapes up here. And then, you know, I'm going to go back into the ocean. Oh, I didn't even realize I splattered up here. Still, I removed it. Good. Go back into my ocean. You know, the sky is looking like I want it to look. I want to go back in and add a little more depth of color. Just a little back here and some spots in here. Again, it's not like the photograph. The photograph is actually a lighter, paler green, blue, like turquoisey blue. I'm just changing mine. And you could go in and scrape some of that too. And I have the salt. I'll play around with adding some salt. You have to wait till it dries though to add the salt, like after the salt's done. Or also, I like to I'll take the number 10 Neptune series brush. I'll water down my gouache. Now gouache has got some chalk in it, so when you splatter it or you attach it to something, as you see in some of my tutorials, it kind of repels a little bit. It's kind of cool. Let's see what we got here. Let's splatter some of this in here. This is still not wet, so it won't do the effect that I'm looking for. It will on the ocean part. I could go back in with my brush, get a little wet in here, just add some water, right? And take my Liquitex acrylic burnt umber ink and play around with splattering that paint. The smaller the brush, the smaller the splatter. Let's see what happens. Ooh, kind of cool. That was a big one, huh? It's making a big spider. It's fairly damp. I put a little too much water. I'll get a paper towel and I'll just kind of lift up some of the water. And I'll go back in and take that nice ink. Let's see what we got. Yeah. It's a nice color to play and splatter it down here. I'm loving the way this is looking. Sometimes I play beforehand. I'm taking this is the Princeton 8 long round. Grabbing some of my neutral tint and my ultramarine blue. And just mixing some of that. Just going up here. A little bit darker. Some areas. Just back here. The salt is there, so it's kind of moving it around a little bit. Yeah, I'm liking that. So now, with this brush, these colors, these gray color tones, see that I can still see some pencil lines. I can try and fill in some of those areas, or not bother. It's funny how I set it up with an intention of like really having a pattern and doing all the pencil in them. I still can do that once this is dry. So I might just do that. I'm going to go back in with some neutral tint up here, right off the tube. I don't know why I'm talking so quietly, but I'm just doing that. Okay, and then adding a little more right out here. So it's really intense. Just much darker back here. And then some of the rocks that you see in the photograph. Of course, they're lighter, but I can make them darker because I can do whatever I want. It's my picture. Out here. Some brown gray rocks. Just do some little ones. Just like that. And you can add some more in here. All right. So at this point, I'm going to just let this dry. I'm adding a little bit darker color in here too. Just in here a little bit. Okay, I'm going to let this dry with the salt and all that fun mess. And we come back and we can kind of like go on top of this area that's all dry and kind of go in and make a pattern with some of the rocks. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so once that's all dry, you can go back in with your Princeton 8 long round. And I'm just going to take some of the gouache. I'm actually going to water it down a little bit. So I'm going to tap it on my paper towel to get out the excess water. And I'm going to go around some of those little areas that I created, little patterns of rocks. And some of them, not all of them. I can fill in some of the little squares, the little triangles, little areas of rocks. This is where you can add the pattern part. See, I'm just going to go over here and highlight it by adding a little bit of this white gouache. And you can also go in and take some of the darker colors and highlight it. If you lost your pencil marks, you can just redraw them again. See, I'm mixing in some of the browns here. The white is nice to do like a little highlight on the rocks. Also, see, I have a real intense white color right there. If you want to do like a little pattern. You see that? Going in and mixing in the color with this. Again, with the grays. Kind of putting in the rock shape. You don't have to do this, by the way. You could just left it the way it was. Just giving you some more ideas. How to make it a little more funky and abstract. Same angle, like little tiny rocks. Do like a little cluster up in here. You're not going to really see it far away. You're going to notice it more up close. Just going in and adding those rock formation shapes. Right where the pencil marks are. Some a little bit darker. See, I like that white one. Kind of just bold, sticking right there, right? You can go back and grab some more white. Do like another one. A few. You can play around with that. You don't have to keep doing that though. It's just going to be different. And then maybe a few back here too. That's a little too white. I'll water this down. And those little shapes. So it's kind of like you're adding and then taking away. And then adding again. It's fun to play with the gouache. Going over that translucent color. Do some small ones back here. Yeah. That's kind of how I felt like I needed to do it. I'm standing up to see if I like it. It's always good to do that, guys. So you hear my chair going up and down. It's kind of my little abstract, kind of funky. Notice that I'm doing a little more white, intense white in some of these areas. Like I said, and it will dry much lighter because it's, if you're adding water to it, it's going to become more translucent. And I might go back in and add some yellows as well. After everything dries, you can go back in and play with all the colors. Get the burnt umber here again. I don't want to fuss with it too much because I feel like I want to just keep it really kind of loose. I will go back in here and maybe add a little couple of dots. And I can go back in also when it dries and go back in and take my pencil or even charcoal and play around with that. Let me see. Oops. See if I like it. Ah, that little white spot. Kind of bugging me, right? Probably bugging you too. And just take some water and lift it up. It's gone. This one too. Or I can add color on top of it. And make the rock shapes here. Fill in the shapes here. Do little squiggles with the paint. Dry brush. All these fun things you can do. Doing some dry brush darker color. Some of the area, so just wiggle on my brush. And then taking the tip and making some lines with that. Alright, I'm going back in here and just tweaked up a little bit where I think it's just too much white and added some darker tones. Just go back in here and do some dry brush with these colors. I'm gonna kind of play around. But I think pretty much I don't want to play around with it anymore. Sometimes you just gotta learn like just to stop, go away. Right? Let's just let it go. So let's just lift up our paint, our tape, and see what we got. That's the best part, actually. Voila! I'm kind of loving it. See, oh, a little too bright. Sorry, guys. See all the cool little marks here, the pencil marks and everything. It's kind of a nice pattern. It's just fun to play. So it's like rocky, coastal. Yep. I think I really like it. Sometimes I like things, sometimes I don't. I don't know. So you saw how simple it was for me, just drawing these little funky wiggly shapes and just straight line across and just putting in color. The salt created these like little, like almost like you see sometimes when I splatter the gouache, but the salt created these little marks that kind of like takes the paint away. There's more salt here, I'll just take that away. Kind of cool. Yeah, and just really simple, adding some color with the big palettes like this are fun to play with because you can just kind of pull in all the colors and see what happens. So if you have any questions, again, guys, leave them in the comment section. Have fun, play, use photographs for inspirations. You don't have to follow everything to a T. That's what they're there for. You know, just play around. This is all about play, looking at color, moving things around, scraping with the old card. You know, I use some acrylic ink here. I don't even know what was it necessary. Not really. You could have just used gouache and watercolor and gouache, and just a couple of brushes. So yeah. So I hope you like this abstract coastal landscape. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit that bell notification button, please do so. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.